Okay. I think we're live. The first time doing this properly, so may or may not be working. We'll see. Okay, hopefully you guys can hear me. I don't know if you can, but we shall see. Right. Okay, so yeah, as I said in the description for this thing, I recently started picking up Blender. I did start learning it a long time ago, but I've failed to practice, so now I'm starting again. So what I'm trying to do with Blender mainly is do some 2D animation in it, because I've got a program called Clip Studio on my Galaxy tablet, but because of the licensing for it, it only lets me do like like 1 second of animation, which isn't great. But Blender does, although it is a 3D program, Blender does do 2D animation as well. So I'm trying to pick that up again and get back into the swing of that. So I'm sharing my screen, and you can probably see this is the Blender UI. It looks quite complicated. It's quite busy. I've got a fairly small tablet as well, which is why it's all kind of crunched in. I'm just sharing my tablet screen. But it's using a mode in Blender called Grease Pencil. And Grease Pencil lets you have like an animation timeline, and it lets you draw and, well, some stuff. So what I'm going to try and do, I'm just going to do a little bit of animation, just a really quick sketchy pencil animation for like 20 minutes or so, see what I can get done. I don't animate particularly well. I know when you do animation, you're supposed to do like keyframes, or you map out the motion, and I can do that, and I have done that in the past. But what I tend to do is animate frame by frame, just moving on. I've got an idea in my head as to how it would look. So I'm just going to roll with it and see what happens really. So I know that I've got on here a where's it gone? I'm going to do a quick animation with Ruckus, a transformer I've got who I quite like, and he's got these flip out guns that you can see on his shoulders. So I'm going to use that as a bit of reference, I guess, and go from there really. Right, so let's see if we can get something rolling here. I apologise if I sound a bit bunged up. It's because I'm a bit bunged up. I've got a little bit of a slight bit of a cold, I think. Okay, so I'm in Blender. I've got it set up so that every time I start drawing on here, I will generate a new frame. You can see my frames are down the bottom on this timeline here, and as we go through and make new stuff, it'll crop up. So I've got my draw tool selected. I've already got my strokes and all that kind of stuff here. So it's going to make it up as I go along, really, see what happens. So let's see, he's going to do, needs to kind of jut forward a bit first. So just going to quickly sketch out a motion for the upper torso. And again, this is not going to be polished at all. This is going to look really rugby. But it's good practice for doing some animation. Because animation is something I used to be really quite into, and then I fell out of practice with it a little bit, and as time went on, I got more and more to practice with it, and I just never really went back to it. And it would be kind of good to try and flex those muscles a little bit more. And I don't have a great amount of time tonight, so this is going to be a nice little quick sketchy exercise. So I'm really just blocking in some super rough shapes on this thing. I do mean really, really rough. Because animation takes a long, long time. And to do it in a kind of finished and polished way just takes so long and a lot of patience that I usually don't have. So this is going to be my initial starting frame. What does his head look like? Okay, so we've got this kind of crest thing going on. So all this is just really roughing this in just to get started. And he's got some gumph behind his head and some gumph on his back as well. So that's going to be our initial frame. I haven't looked at doing any kind of colouring stuff at all in in Blender yet, so I have no real idea how that actually kind of works. So if I go to the next frame now, so if I click along to frame 2 or frame, well, yeah, let's just say frame 1. When I start drawing on this now, this will hide this initial frame and give me a new one. So I want Ruckus to kind of scoot backwards a little bit. So if we start drawing, you can see now the old frame has gone grey behind it. It's called onion skinning. So I can see the frame behind. So it'll let me use that as a reference so I can change up what I'm doing on the frame in front. So you can see here what I'm trying to do is have the character sort of start to move back a little bit. And so that the top of the torso is moved back a bit further. The bottom of the torso kind of stays put because he's got his feet planted on the ground. And the arms are going to go back a little bit as well because they're obviously attached to the torso. And as he's moved his arms back a little bit, that'll change the upper arms. And it'll mean that his lower arms will also scooch back a little bit too. And when his arms go back, that means his fists go back as well. Not by a great deal, but there will be a bit of a nudge, a little bit of movement to show them going back. I was not lying when I said this is going to be really, really rough. So it goes back there. I'm going to move his head slightly forward, so like he's glancing down and forward a little bit, kind of with a bit of intent, I guess, because he's going to flip out some guns from over the top of his head. It's going to look quite mean. I'm sure there is a keyboard shortcut on here somewhere, but I can go and move the frames back and forth a little bit. But I don't know it yet, so I'll get to that eventually. Right, so still moving back a fair bit. Again, proper roughing it. This is real sketch animation. Again, just going to rough in a lot of these details. So all I'm really trying to do here, I'm not fussed about, animation model accuracy or that kind of thing. All I'm really trying to do is just test my abilities to get some good movement. And that's what I've been doing the last couple of days or the last couple of weeks, really. You see me playing a little bit with, I did an impactor animation, I did a shockwave animation. And again, really, really rough and ready kind of stuff, but it's all good practice. I have no idea what I'm really doing this for. I'm not good enough to get any kind of job in the industry. I've got no experience or that kind of thing. But it's something I used to really enjoy doing. And I used to go to art college back in 1998, 99. And I did animation then. And then I did go back in around about 2015 and finished off a master's in animation as well. So I have actually done qualifications in this stuff, but I've never really done anything with it. And I think I'm at that point in my life where it's probably a bit late now. Nothing's really gonna happen with it now, but it's fun to do. Okay, so I'm going to move backwards a little bit. Then the next frame, I'm going to keep frames 2 and 3 the same. So he's going to, as he moves back, he's going to just hold that little braced back position for a little bit longer. And then on frame 4 is where he's going to start moving forward again. Excellent. Almost a repeat of frame 2, really. But this time, as he's moving forward, you'll see his arms will have a little bit of a slightly different motion to them. Because he's I'm going to have him almost swing his arms forward to try and give himself a bit more momentum to launch the guns out of his shoulders. So we'll do that. So now we're going to put his arms coming down slightly. I'm roughing these in so quickly that the hands are almost like GoBot hands, just blocks with lines on them. So real rough and ready. So frame 5, we can afford to be a little bit more aggressive with his movement now. So I'm going to have his waist actually come down a little bit. Again, just getting those rough details in for his chest, his torso. Angling up the arms a little bit. Again, you can start to see the hands moving down. And a lot of the time, the details are really inconsistent, but all we're interested in here really is trying to see if that motion would work. Because when you've got the motion working and you can see the animation is, you know, the movement is doing what you want it to do, then you can actually go back in later and start to fill in the blanks and get the details a bit more consistent and make sure it looks good then. I haven't done the guns off the back of them just yet. I'll go back and sort that out in a little bit. Yeah, make no bones about it, this is going to look rough as hell. But hopefully it'll give us a nice little bit of movement. I'm very quickly losing all the detail in his face and all his head detail here. But again, just trying to get some hint of how he would move. I'll give him a bit of a grimacy kind of smile though, a bit of a kind of feel to him. I think this will be the last kind of frame of movement on his body. Again, just roughing this in slightly. And I'll see if I've got it a little bit stretched for time, but I'll try and go back in there and put those shoulder cannons on. And like any kind of real, actual professional animator would probably be going through this right now and checking it as they go to see if they've got the any kind of motion or movement there. But I'm in no way a pro. So where does this start? So this is going to end on frame 20. I've only got like 7 frames drawn here, so I'll change this end frame to frame, I don't know, 12. Let's see if that works. If I press spacebar now, it should just run through. There we go. There we go. It looks like he's dancing in a very kind of lewd way, really. So that's fine. So let's move this on a little bit. What I'm doing here, I'm just adjusting these frames a little bit. Trying to see what it looks like if I retime them slightly by moving the frames around. That's not bad. It's not good, but it's not bad. Let's move all these on 2 frames, I guess. Yeah, that's cool. And then I think we'll just move on these to there. Yeah, it just gives a bit more punch. Okay, cool. Right, so we got that. So on here now, if I add another layer, which I think I do from, where are you? My layers menu, which is up here somewhere. Don't know where that layer actually is. Yeah, it must be there. Okay, so I think frame 1 I'll keep the same. Frame 2 is going to start forward. So here I'll do the start of some flick outs of the cannon. And again, kind of guessworking this really. Real rough shapes just to kind of get these in there. I'll put just a hint of the motion with some speed lines. Okay, that's coming along. The real rough and ready stuff, but it might look okay. And even though the character will have stopped moving, the guns will have a little bit of extra movement on them at the end. So you should see them slightly bounce into place. I'm going to put them back up a frame. So they look like they've bounced up a little bit. And the other thing I'm going to do is find my colours, which I think are down here. Yeah, I'm going to put it to white. Hide that somehow. Yeah, I guess. And now I can go back in and I'm just going to do a little bit of white colouring just to hide some of the show through of the layer below. Again, this is just real rough and ready stuff. No one's gonna. Okay, that should work. Well, I say that should work. That might work. Who knows? Right. So if I start playing this now. Okay, that's cool. Need to make it so that it stops a bit later. So we've now added a couple more frames. We've gone up to frame 15. So if we stop this at frame 20 now. There we go. Okay, it's not great, but it'll do. You can see, you can kind of see what I'm going for with that. Right, okay, so now that I've got that super rough and ready animation, let's try and export this out of here. And I can post it on Blue Sky then, and people can look at it and critique it if you wish. Right, so how do I output this? Output, there we are, right. So yeah, it's going to be as a MPEG, so that's fine, or MP4. I'm going to call this ruckus test. Accept. And what do we do now? What do we do now? Oh yeah, render animation. The computer then runs through and renders it essentially. Okay, so I think it's done that now. So now that that's done, I think that's it then. So that can then be posted on Blue Sky, and I can call that a night. So yeah, so there we are. That's a little bit of a very quick half-an-hour run through of some animation in Blender using the grease pencil tool. Super basic, but I've made some pixels move, so I can't be too unhappy with that. So thanks for sticking around and watching that with me, guys. And I'll leave this up on the channel so anybody else can have a look at it if you want to. And I'll try and do some more animation live streaming, and hopefully be a bit more polished and have a bit more time at some point in the future. So cheers, guys. I'll catch up with you later.